Hey Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Hello and welcome to the Axler family tree. The Axler family is another notable racing family, like the Weathers and the Shiftright family trees. Now let's start with the first racer of the family tree, Morris Axler. Morris was born in 1932 and he raced in the Piston Cup from 1955 to 1974, winning 11 Piston Cup races, and also took the number 28 from Rusty Schultz, who was the first car to use the number 28. And was also better than Rusty Schultz, not just because of his 11 wins, but because he finished in the top 10 in points 4 times. Rusty Schultz never finished in the top 10 in points. In 1974, when Morris was 54, he would retire, and then after retirement, he would initially become his son's crew chief. This son I will introduce later in the video. And then after a while of being involved in racing, Morris Axler would unfortunately die in 2023 at the age of 90. May Morris Axler rest in peace. But Morris's younger brother, Donald Axler, who worked as an aircraft engineer, is still alive today. Same with his wife, Anna. And since Donald Axler was an aircraft engineer, many aircraft have Donald Axler to thank for why they can fly. Now, Morris Axler did have some children, and here is the path of the family tree that descends from Andrew Axler, Morris's oldest son. Now, let's get into detail about Andrew Axler. Andrew Axler actually began his career several seasons before his father's retirement, beginning his career in 1969 at the age of 17. He lied about his age to get into the Piston Cup. And he finished his full-time career in 1997, being succeeded by his son. But he would occasionally race all the way until 2012 in the 2012 Gasprin 400, where he raced his final race, the same race where Bill Racelot and Chick Hicks last appeared. And Andrew Axler's best years were in the mid-1970s, when he had his father as his crew chief before he had a hard crash in 1977, unfortunately. And then afterwards, Andrew Axler, he did make many more Piston Cup starts, but he was very inconsistent. But in total, Andrew Axler won 23 races, 12 more than his father. And like his father, Andrew Axler had several seasons where he finished in the top 10. I couldn't fix the text in this image quick enough. And now, onto Andrew's sons. First, we've got Charles Axler, who is not a very talented racer. But here is Harold Axler, who was a talented Piston Cup racer, the second son of Andrew Axler. But Harold's career went off to a great start. He only raced in 1996 and 1987. But in 1997, he won the 3rd Division's championship. But he had a career-ending crash before he could take part in the 1998 Piston Cup. Originally, it was supposed to be Harold Axler who would replace his father, but instead, it would be his younger brother, Aiken Axler, who was a mediocre Piston Cup racer who barely qualified during his career from 1998 to 2009. If you watched those seasons, you would know that Aiken Axler did not make very many starts, but he did appear in the 2005 Dynaco 400, just behind Kevin Shiftright and the 3 championship contenders. And in 2008 and 2009, due to his poor performances, he would have to share his number and his sponsor with Phil Tankson, who ended up outperforming him. But the Axler family has a 4th generation racer, Alvin Axler, who is a backup racer. He's Synergy's backup racer since 2017, basically just racing when Eric Breaker can't. But despite being a backup racer, he has made 10 Piston Cup starts, and he finished on the lead lap 8 times so far, and has won the North Carolina State League in 2023. That's actually pretty hard, considering North Carolina is one of the most competitive states for Piston Cup racers. Don't forget that this family, the Axler family, the Weathers and Earnhardt family all come from that state. And also, Andrew Axler has a younger brother named Alan Axler, who was the CEO of Nitroade from 1992 to 2001. During his reign as CEO of Nitroade, Nitroade became a lot richer, and also, he congratulated his older brother when he made his final full-time start in 1997. Even to this day, in 2024, Alan Axler is still involved in helping the Nitroade race team. I wonder how much he'll do in 2025. And now, he has a younger brother, an adopted brother, named Morris Axler Jr., and here is his branch of the family tree. Which means that none of them are actually related to Morris and Andrew Axler. And here is Morris Axler Jr., the adopted son of the Axler family. He was born on October 24th, 1960, and he also went on to become a racer. Racing for 20 years, racing from 1980 until 2000, where he retired because he had too many engine failures. But while he was racing, he did win 25 races in the second division and finished second in 1992. Unfortunately, he never raced in the Piston Cup, despite being good enough to race in the Piston Cup, because he was scared of being wrecked by the Shiftrights, specifically Craig and Clint, not so much Kenny Shiftright, and there was even Harold Dodge racing at the time. Morris Axler has a son who raced in the Piston Cup, but not George Axler's father. George Axler is the grandson of Morris Axler Jr., and he's a Piston Cup Junior racer since 2020, but has taken part in some senior races, as he has made some starts in the 4th Division and ran the whole 2024 season in the North Carolina State League. Hopefully he did okay, because aside from California and Texas, North Carolina has the most competitive state league. But George's uncle Jeff Axler did not want to race in the United States, and he looks very similar to his cousin Aiken, and he also brought the Nitroade sponsorship with the number 28 to Australia, and he would go on to race in the Australian Piston Cup from 2009 until 2015, where he would win 20 races and finish second in points twice. Good thing he wasn't competing against Thomas Sanders, who is extremely good in the Australian Piston Cup. Now onto the rest of the Axler family tree, where there's Johnny Axler, who was an open wheel racer from 1981 until he had a career-ending crash in 1989. But an Axler that had a more interesting Piston Cup career is the only daughter of Andrew Axler, Sarah Axler, who was born in North Carolina like the rest of the Axlers, but in 1984, she would move to Canada with her family, and then went on to compete in Canada's Piston Cup from 1986 until 2003, winning 48 races, one of the top 10 winningest Piston Cup racers in Canada, and would win the championship in 1998, becoming the first female Piston Cup racer to win a top division championship in North America, and is one of the Piston Cup legends in Canada. But her daughter, Lisa Axler, never ended up becoming a Piston Cup racer, and then she adopted 3 children, and only Roy Axler ended up becoming a racer of any kind, becoming a rally car. And before you ask, Colleen Axler is not related to the Axler family. If I said she was in a different video, that video was wrong. But the Axler family is one of the great Piston Cup racing families, beginning with Morris Axler, who then created a reputation for Andrew Axler, his son, to succeed. And also, this family are also the racers who are usually sponsored by Nitroade High Energy Drink, a company that they're also heavily involved in. As Phil Tankson and Tim Treadless, the 2 Nitroade racers after Aiken Axler, are close friends of the Axler family.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
Even if you only counted Piston Cup racers who competed in the United States, Morris and Andrew Axler were both very good Piston Cup racers during their primes. Although it is unfortunate that the Axler family has no Piston Cups yet, unlike the Shiftright family. But if you count Piston Cups in Canada, then none of the other major Piston Cup families that I've covered so far have a Piston Cup in that league. Only the Axlers. Don't worry, the 14th race of the 2016 Piston Cup season video is still in production. Stay tuned for a new video tomorrow, as it's the Advent calendar. But unfortunately, the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine is still going. The Ukrainian people just wanted to live in peace and have freedom, and also not have to flee their home because of a dangerous conflict. But who caused the destruction that would result in these consequences? The tyrant and bully, Vladimir Putin, who started a war in early 2022, and over 1,000 days later, it's still going on. Currently, Vladimir Putin's tyranny rules over Crimea, the Donbass, and parts of the Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, and Kherson oblasts. But Vladimir Putin is not having everything going his way, as Ukraine controls parts of Russia's Kursk Oblast. Despite these gains, every day it gets harder for Ukraine to win the war because of dwindling supplies. We here at the K.A. Bullets Piston Cup YouTube channel stand with Ukraine in their struggle against Vladimir Putin's tyranny, and also recognize Ukraine's true borders as shown by this map. Slava Ukraini! Heroyam slava! Nechai Shvetsya Daruretsia! Ukraini Peromoha! Glory to Ukraine! Glory to the heroes! May Ukraine be granted victory very soon!